Hey everybody, good morning. So normally I would wait a little bit before making a video about a new killer, just so I have time to understand them a bit more first. Excuse me. And also make a build and experiment with their add-ons and so on. But frankly, I don't think I really need to with this killer, because this killer is, well, as the experts would say, fucked. This killer is probably the worst killer release, power-wise, that we've ever seen. Like, Release Legion and the Twins came out better than this guy. Because at least when they came out, you could actually get kills most of the time. But, especially on console, this guy is absolutely horrendous. So, I wanted to talk about it and explain what's wrong with this killer and what should change if he's going to have any hopes of competing with any killer in this game, frankly. So, the basic idea is, as you can see, a mesmerizing skill honed through a lifetime of practice. Ji-Woon Hak unleashes a flurry of knives with rapid-fire speed. Sounds pretty cool. You start your trial with 60 blades, hold the power button to wind up, and enter the throw state. Now, while you're in the throw state, you're slowed down while you're pulling out the knives. The knives don't get, like, you'd think if it's a knife, he'd, like, instantly pull it out, but no, it's almost like a hunter's hatchet. He winds up to pick them up, and then you have to hit the attack button in order to throw a single blade, or hold it to throw them. Now, throwing a flurry increases control and throw rate, it says, will decrease the movement speed. Well, that's incorrect. When you start firing blades, you have to deal with recoil. Like, your screen will be jumping left and right and going up constantly. The controls of Dead by Daylight are poor at the best of times. We do not need a Call of Duty recoil control mechanic on a killer, especially one who throws knives. He's not even using a gun. So I really don't understand why this was even a thing. It just makes him a pain in the ass to play, especially on console. And you have to land, anyway, so you attack with these blades. Every blade adds to a survivor's laceration meter. It increases each time they hit. Once the meter is filled, they take a state of damage, whether it's by injuring them or downing them. The thing is, it takes 8 knives to do this. 7 knives to put them into to fill up their meter, and then 1 more to actually do the damage. This becomes a chore because you're 110 movement speed already. You get slowed down when pulling out the knives, slowed down even more while throwing the knives. And then you're slowed down even more by the fact that you have to wait for the knives to be pulled out before you can throw them. So you can't, and so all the survivor has to do is keep going around corners, and all you're doing is slowing yourself down and making things easy for them. Anyway, the blades are reloaded at lockers just like hunter's hatchets. And oh, let's not forget, on top of all this, the survivor's laceration meter will gradually decrease if they have not been hit by a blade for a short time. Hitting a survivor with a basic attack will immediately decrease their laceration meter basically to nothing. And so, that's another problem. It takes him so much effort to get these blades built up, but if the survivor gets even a little bit of distance on him, which is really easy considering how many self-slowdowns he has, you just play it safe at a tile for a bit, throw the pallet, and make sure he can't hit you with any knives. And those blades, and your blade meter will start decreasing with rapid speed. And then there's his main event ability, which is, I guess, it's supposed to be his moment of power. Basically, what happens is when you hit enough blades, you'll have a meter around your power meter, your power icon, which shows you how close you are to getting this. And when it does, goodness gracious. Sorry, I haven't been up for very long, but I wanted to make this video before I stream, because I plan on streaming a different game for now. Anyway, so what happens when you fill this meter is you have about 8 to 10 seconds, I don't know the exact amount of time, while you have this aura around the edges of your screen. Should you press the secondary ability button, you activate this this like berserker mode where he automatically pulls out the knives and he starts throwing them with machine gun level speed with infinite knives. He doesn't drain his ammo, and he'll just keep throwing blades for a few seconds. The problem is, while you're in this mode, you're slowed down still, even though it says that his movement speed does not decrease after each throw, but that's where it goes down. His movement speed decreases after each throw, and that doesn't happen, but the slowdown for still having his blades out is still there, which means you're still too slow to catch up to survivors. So the only time that this is really useful, because if you don't activate it in the allotted amount of time, it just resets and you've wasted it. And if you, so I mean, this thing is supposed to be his reward for landing enough knives and giving him a moment of high damage output, but the problem is he can't control it because he has to use it within a certain time frame, which he can't control. And if you use it, so most of the time when you get it, it's not really useful to use it, and even if it is, it takes a minute for it to start going. It takes like 3-4-ish seconds before it actually starts going. So by that time, the survivor's most likely going to be around a corner, and you're going to be in the same predicament as you were with your normal knives. Only difference is you can't stop throwing the knives unless you cancel the ability, which then if you do, you basically do the Legion out thing where you just look at your hands, and then after that, you can't even throw knives for about 10 seconds. So on top of all of that, on top of being extremely like uncontrollable and being basically a downside to use most of the time, you get punished for even using it regardless of the results you get. Like, this killer is just tore up from the floor up, as you could say. Like, everything about this killer sucks. The knives feel awful to use. It takes too many knives to down people. His movement speed should not be 110. This power is not nearly strong enough to justify it. And then his showstopper is actively a downside, because there's almost no situation in which you get to use it. Yeah, but I don't think I'll be playing too much of this killer. If you catch me on my streams, I'll probably play him, but I probably will not be making any videos on this killer for now, just because I made a post on the Dead by Daylight forums talking about all this, and it's and basically, as I described it, he's masochism for killers. If you want to play a killer that is absolutely miserable to play and you will never beat a team that's any good with, then play this guy. You have to face like the scrubbiest of potatoes to get anything done with this killer. He can't even throw over things like Huntress. Not really. He can throw over some things, but he can't. But it's not like Huntress where you can make interesting plays in anti-loop. His power has no anti-loop potential, like at all. So he's a ranged killer with no ability to anti-loop. So that already makes him shit. Anyway, what they need to do is they need to remove that stupid recoil. That does not need to be a thing. They should reduce the amount of blades it takes to cause an injury from 8 to 6. And their showstopper should be a controllable ability. It should be something he can just use whenever he needs it. And also, if they're gonna make it work the way it does, they should also consider making it to where he doesn't lose movement speed while he's using his showstopper, especially if he's gonna have a cooldown on top of a cooldown after it's done. And they should also possibly consider making this killer 115 movement speed, because even with all that, I don't think he would be very good still. Because he can't use his ability for anti-looping, so if his ability can't anti-loop, he doesn't deserve to be a 110 movement speed killer. Anyway, I hope you found this a bit informative, and I wanted to make this video just to give my thoughts on this killer and basically highlight what's wrong with him. And I also wanted to, explain why there probably won't be much content on this killer for a bit. If you catch my streams, I might play him occasionally, but for the most part, I'm probably going to use other killers just to farm him up. Because honestly, playing him does not sound like fun to me in the slightest right now. The few games I've played with him, I've gotten like 1 to 3 hooks most of the time. And he's that bad. Like, I've never seen a killer release this poorly, and it's actually hilarious to me. Anyhow, thank you for joining me for this little video. I'll be making another video later about the new character in Paladins, because that new update came out yesterday. But until then, see you later.